Okay, I'm going to tell you right now that I am so excited for our first speaker of today. When we gathered together last year to begin planning this event, we wanted to have a strong male presence. Even though, we are fairly female dominated, we've got lots of EO bros that are joining in, and we wanted to make sure that we had a powerful male speaker. You guys know who have been, we've had Adam Green the last couple of years, and that's been absolutely awesome. So as we were thinking through who we might ask to be a speaker this year, one name came to mind. We had heard this guy speak at GoPro 2 years ago, and we were absolutely blown away by him. And so we started, kind of talking. I said, how about Jordan Kemper? And everybody was unanimously, yes, let's ask Jordan. And so we asked him, and he said yes. So here's what you need to know about Jordan, okay? He is a builder in another company. He has a sister that is part of Young Living, Christy Rose. A lot of you got to hear her yesterday. But he leads an incredible team. He's an amazing business leader. He's been on stage with John Maxwell, with Tony Robbins. You're gonna see this when he stands up here. He is authentic and he is real. And we loved this about him, and he has a powerful, powerful message to share. So would you guys please give a warm welcome as Jordan Kemper comes to the stage.
How we doing? How we doing? I love that this event is called Ignite. Who's ready to be ignited? Man, Lehman family, thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here with you guys. I flew in from Tampa, and I'm just ready to see you guys and your lives change. Who wants better results in their lives? Who wants better results in their business? Now here's the catch. If you just sit and listen to me talk for 45 minutes, you're probably going to retain about 10% of what I have to say. That's not good enough. But statistics show that if you actually sit up in your seats, you shout back, you raise your hand, and you fully participate, you'll retain closer to 90% of what I have to say today. So if you're ready to participate, say yes. Yes. Are you ready to participate? Yes. Now here's the deal. Aaron just said it. Habits, right? Some of you have habits in your life that are leading to results that you want. Some of you have habits that are leading to results you don't want. How many of you brushed your teeth today? I would consider that a good habit, right? How many of you can think of some of those bad habits that you don't like to hold on to? We all have bad habits, and it's really easy to form habits. They're patterns in our life. I want to show you how easy it is to form a pattern, so I need you to stand up. Right where you're at, stand up. Now, I want you to put your hands 6 inches apart. I like the way this guy thinks, 6 inches. It's that blue spruce stuff, right? Now, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, go, and I want you to clap. Pretty easy, right? 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3. Very simple instructions. And all it took was 4 repetitions, and we created a pattern. Am I right? Patterns are very easy to form. Now this time when I say go, I want you to keep your hands locked together, okay? 1, 2, 3, go. Now, if you look down at your thumbs, some of you put your left thumb over your right thumb. Can I see those of you that have your left thumb over your right thumb? Statistics actually show that you guys are creative, incredibly sexy, and probably good lovers. You're my lovers in the room. Now, some of you have your right thumb over your left thumb. Can I see you guys? Right thumb over your left. These are the more analytical, more logical, more likely to be the millionaires. I got some people switching back and forth. They want the sex or the money, sex or the money. Anybody have them side by side? Yeah, that means you think you're sexy and you're not very smart. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. Now, here's what I want you to do. Keep them locked together. Now, I want you to switch your thumbs. How does that feel? It feels awkward because I broke your what? Your pattern. Patterns are never easy to break, and they feel very uncomfortable. But the reality is that some of our patterns are leading us in a direction that we don't want to go. they're leading to results in our life that we don't want. So we have to break those patterns, and it's not comfortable. If you're okay breaking patterns today, say yes. Yes. If you're okay, say yes. Yes. All right, take a seat. So before you guys hear what I have to share today, I want you to know just a little bit of my story, where I come from. I've been in network marketing 11 years. I was 22 years old. I went to Wheaton College. It's a Christian school in Chicago. I was a two-sport athlete there on my fast track to medical school. As I was pursuing medicine, I got to the end of school. A physician came into my life, and he introduced me to network marketing. Now, I don't know what your opinion of network marketing was, but I thought network marketing was for people that couldn't be good at something else. I had a very poor opinion of network marketing. My mom had tried some skincare company, and people came over, and it was always awkward. She'd send us upstairs. People buy stuff because they didn't want to make her feel bad, but I just did not have a proper opinion of network marketing, but I really respected him. What's interesting is you guys all joined this company because of the person that enrolled you. They say 85% of decisions in network marketing are made because of who sponsored you. So I really, really admired this gentleman. I ended up sitting down with him over Starbucks. He shared the vision of the company, he shared the vision of the industry, and I didn't really know whether it would work or not, but I wanted to follow him. And so this physician friend of mine enrolled me. I put everything I had onto this credit card. I don't even know how it went through. It did. I joined network marketing. The first 18 months were terrible. Absolutely terrible. I was not a six-figure in 6 month guy. I was $600 in 6 months. I couldn't make this thing work. After 18 months, I'll just tell you guys, I thought about quitting. I'll never forget what he said to me. He said, Jordan, if you were 18 months into medical school, how much money would you have made? And I realized in that moment, I had to increase my skills. I had to work on myself. Fast forward, I went to a Danny Johnson event. I went to Tony Robbins events. I started really working on personal development. I improved myself. At age 24, I became the 4th fastest grower in my company. I was the only person over the course of 6 years to hit Growth 25, 6 consecutive years. I ended up finishing number 2 in the United States, top 20 in my company overall. And I don't share that to brag. I'm just telling you, I got really locked into the mission of my company, locked into the vision of what I could do in the lives that could change. And so I've really enjoyed speaking, meeting people in this industry, and you guys can see I've got a picture. Adam Green's a dear friend of mine. I absolutely love and admire him. Monique McLean, there's so many people inside of Young Living that I respect. So I'm proud of you guys for being here. And as you guys heard earlier, I do have a sister in Young Living. I believe she's known as the Parasite Queen here. So I just want to share something really quick to affirm my sister. She was actually a part of my team for about 9 years. 9 years. And I think the most she ever made was maybe $600. And what was interesting was she would have been one of the people kind of in the back, maybe running registration. She would have had a smile on her face, but by no means was she a leader in my company. She wasn't a leader in my team. And I think for a lot of Christy's life, she kind of lived in my shadow, and we have an older brother, but she was really in a supporting cast. And it was always about, you know, Jordan's good, Khan's good, but I don't really know what my thing is. And it was a little bit hard for me to swallow when she told me she wanted to jump to another team, another opportunity. But I was really excited for that. And I watched very quickly how she stepped into her leadership, how she stepped up and decided how she was going to do things, very different in the way in which I did things. And she figured out how to build a team and how to serve others. And I watched her rise and rise and rise, and she's now a diamond in your company. I'm so proud of her. So wherever you are, Christy, where are you at? I'm just so proud of you. So she says she did it in 17 months. I'll tell you, she did it in 11 years. But the truth is, that could be your story. And you've really got to step into your leadership. Don't rely on family. Don't rely on yourself. Really figure out and identify what that is. And I think Young Living is the answer for all of you. And then my other half isn't here today, and I wanted you guys to see a picture of my sweetheart. My wife, we've been married for 2.5 years. This is my wife, Kristen, and this is our baby, Ella. I was not a dog person before I got married, but that dog melted my heart. I'm just telling you. And we live in Tampa. This is a picture of our home. We love fishing. We love community. We're plugged into our church there. But she wasn't here with me today. But I love my wife so much, and I'm just thankful that she gave me the opportunity to be here to inspire you guys as well. So this is my wife. I wanted you guys to know that. So let's really dive into my content here. My question to you guys is, what is success? Just shout out answers. What is success? 1 or 2 words. What's success to you? Happiness? Freedom, security, significance. I'm hearing different things. If we look at the Webster Dictionary of success, success is the attainment of wealth, fame, or eminence. Wealth, fame, or eminence. So when we start thinking about wealth is how our world defines success, we're all looking for that path to success, am I right? How many of you recognize some of these books? We're constantly listening to books, podcasts, tapes, going to events. We're all looking for what's that formula? What's that path to success? And ultimately, if we go by the world's terms and terminology, success is wealth. Success is the attainment of fame and recognition. That's what wealth is, and we want it so bad. I think oftentimes wealth to some of us is either the avoidance of pain or the pursuit of pleasure. And pleasure can mean different things to different people. For some, it's maybe that dream house. I think for others, it might be cars. We've got car people in the room. Some people, it's boats. Some people, it's traveling. Freedom to be able to go when you want, where you want, and to create experiences. For some in the room, I think success to you is actually significance and importance, meaning applause, the recognition from your peers that you're valuable, that you make a difference. Success is not a bad thing, but success means different things to all of us. Am I right? So as we start thinking about success, I went and I just thought, let's just Google the word success. And it's not a surprise that if the definition of success is the attainment of wealth, these are the 4 people that surfaced when I put in success. These are wealthy people, right? So I want you to think back to a moment when you enrolled in your Young Living business. That day that you decided that you were going to enroll in Young Living. What was that thought? What was that trigger moment for you? Why did you want to be successful? Was it a difficult situation in your home life? Maybe you lost your job. Maybe your husband needed some support. Maybe it was like you were just sick and tired of being sick and tired. I don't know what it was, but for me, at 2007 as a 22-year-old, about ready to take this plunge into medical school, for me, my thought was different. I didn't want to go to med school. I didn't want student debt. I didn't want somebody else telling me what I could and couldn't do. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to make 6 figures. I wanted to travel the world. And as I started thinking about all my reasons why I wanted to be successful, most of them just affected me. Most of them did. And I'm not saying there wasn't an element of wanting to help people with their health and transition and so forth, but most of my wants and my desires in the beginning was about me. It wasn't until I figured out that in this business, you must help others become successful if you want to become successful. And that was what I loved most about this industry. I believe that the highest personal achievement is seeking the needs of others before you seek the needs of yourself. And that's absolutely true. So I have a story for you guys. This is a red key. To most of you, it's just nothing more than an ordinary house key. But this red key means so much to me because this red key was actually given to me when I was 13 years old. I was 13 years old. It was a Wednesday night. I was at youth group. The youth pastor got up on stage just like this, and he was speaking to a room of probably 200 or 300 middle schoolers. And he talked about the importance of sexual purity. He talked about why it was important and why decisions that we would make would affect other people long down the road. He asked the men in the room to really honor women, to honor women's parents, to honor women's future husbands. I was only 13 at the time, so I was trying to embrace the message to the best of my ability. But what I really saw it was a challenge that I could either accept or reject. But I, for some reason, resonated with what he had to say, and so I decided to accept that red key challenge. I took the red key, I put it in my pocket. I think a lot of people probably lost the red key on the way home. But I decided to stick that red key in a safe where no one else knew where it was. In the middle of my room, I stuck that red key, and only I knew where that red key was. I made a decision. And as I think about that decision, as a 13-year-old boy, I could actually see 10, 15, 20 years down the road, I would actually be standing on an altar, and I could visualize myself wanting to be standing on that altar and seeing my future wife coming down the aisle, and I wanted to be able to look her in the face and say that I waited for you. I waited for you. And this was what I learned through that experience. The most potent commitments are those made on behalf of another before you even know their name. And so I held on to that red key. And on my wedding day, I wrote this little card and I put that red key in an envelope and I gifted that to my wife. Here's what I want you to hear. The purest decisions in life are made on behalf of another. Before you even know their name. Those choices matter. That red key choice mattered. And so this Red Key story for me culminated into this desire to write a book. I wrote a book called The Red Key Revolution, and I've been working on it for the last 2 years. My hope was actually to have the book ready so I could give it to you guys, and it's not going to be ready until this summer, but the book is coming. Now, why did I call it The Red Key Revolution? It's not a book on sexual purity. It's about the red key choices that we all make every day. Every one of us has red key choices, choices that we can make that affect people we'll meet tomorrow. Why did I call it a revolution? I called it a revolution because I'm going to ask critical questions that are going to be difficult to swallow. I want to formulate really hard conversations to where we start to look at what matters in our lives. What is significant and what's not. And I call it a revolution because it's an invitation. Revolutions are never accomplished alone. Revolutions are accomplished with other people to where together we can pursue significance together. And that's the mission of the Red Key Revolution. So let me kind of help you guys to understand how I broke down this book. If you look at the shape of a key, keys have been used throughout history, actually 6,000 years. Keys have been used to unlock things. Unlock intangible things, right? Like hearts and solutions, or tangible things like cars and houses. But if you look at the shape of a key, it's got two parts. It's got the bow, which is the part that you grip to create torque, and then you've got the blade. And the blade is the key part here. The blade is comprised of cuts. Cuts in a key. Now, you guys have all lost your keys before, or maybe you've looked at keys and they all look similar, but you and I both know that if you stick the wrong key in the wrong lock, in the right lock, it's not going to work. It's the cuts that determine whether or not the lock's going to work. And so if the wrong cuts are there, the key won't work. You cannot unlock. If the cuts are there, but the cuts are faded, the key still doesn't work. So I argue that the right cuts have to be present in order for you to unlock significance in your life. And so how I built this book was I determined the 7 cuts necessary to unlock significance. And so why did I choose the word cut? I mean, if you look at the word incision, the root word means to cut. The same root for the word decision. Decision means to cut off from the possibility of anything other than what you've committed yourself to. You've got to decide for yourself what is significant in your life and what isn't significant, and be willing to make those cuts necessary to pursue significance. So I don't have time today to go through all of it, but I wanted to introduce some of the cuts to you guys today. If you're okay with that, say yes. Yes. Here's the first cut. Cut the selfie. Are you kidding me, Jordan? Cut the selfie. What does that actually mean? Let me ask you guys a question. Where is your camera pointed? Where is your life camera pointed? You know, when I think back to the 5th grade, I was challenged to create this goals list, and I actually did. I still have it. I had this checklist of things I wanted to accomplish. Middle school valedictorian, high school homecoming king, high school valedictorian, play college basketball, become a medical doctor. I had this list. Pretty surprising for a 5th grader, but I did. And I made this list, and I think perhaps if you were my parent, you'd be really proud of a child that has these aspirations because of the commitment, the perseverance, the dedication necessary to accomplish those goals. Am I right? So as I made this list, I started going through it, and there's no doubt about it, sacrifice was necessary to accomplish those things. I got up every day at 4:30 in the morning. I ran 2 miles before school. At basketball practice, I wouldn't leave until I hit 20 free throw shots in a row. I wasn't as smart or as naturally gifted in school as some of the other students, so I ended up reading everything twice. I did what was ever necessary to make sure that I could check those boxes. And in life, I started checking those boxes. But here's the catch. The goals weren't the problem. The problem was the self-serving nature of the goals. I was interested in being the best student. Here's what I mean. I didn't study to learn. I studied so that I would get A's so that my peers would think I was the smartest student in the class. I wanted to be the best basketball player in the state of Illinois so that people would think of me in that way. I would forego going out on Friday nights with the basketball team to go back to my house. Back when they had VHS tapes, I would stick them into the recorder and I would record all the local news stations on what they had to say about Jordan Kemper. On Saturday mornings, I would wake up and I would cut out the local newspaper clipping, the Rockford Register-Star, because it'd have some headline that says Jordan Kemper. I would put those on the wall because paper lives forever, right? And all of a sudden, I started to see these trends that it was the Jordan Kemper show, and that was self-gratification. That's what it was. And so I think what started as good goals, self-care, morphed into self-gratification. So let's talk about that concept of self-care. You guys have heard that term before, yes? So what is self-care? Self-care is the pursuit of well-being and the actions necessary to ensure it. We think about mind, body, spirit. It's important to take care of yourself, correct? What are some good self-care habits that you have? Massage, right? You guys are using your oils, you're taking vitamins, you're getting rest, you're eating well, you're hydrating. I was very militant about my morning routine. I mean, I'm talking when I wake up, I hit my knees, I move, I drink lemon water with cayenne pepper, I jump on a rebounder, I jump up and down for about 5 minutes, I go to the gym, I come back, I read. I mean, I was very meticulous about my regimen because that was self-care. But when we start to look at self-care, I think that our nation has become obsessed with self-care. It's moved to entitlement. You guys have heard these sayings. Do you, girl. Do your thing. Do you. Do what makes you happy. And all of a sudden, now what's happened is we've morphed into this entitlement attitude that I deserve. And so we start looking at this promise of self. Do what's best for self. I'm not arguing that self-care is not important, but if self-care is taking care of yourself, I would say that self-gratification is the indulgence of it. And what happens when self-care is in conflict with service to others? Do you stick to your routine or do you help your children? Do you stick to your routine or do you help your teammate? I don't think the right question is to ask whether self-care is important, but the right question to ask is why is self-care important? Why do we want to improve ourselves? That's the question we need to ask. Ever since I could remember, when you get onto an airplane, right, you get this airline safety video. And airline safety video states that in the event of an emergency, you are to help yourself before you help those around you. Now, I don't have children, but I have to believe that in the event of a true emergency, men and women that have children, you would probably help your kids before you help yourself. Am I right? You would put their needs above your needs. You would delay your gratification to ensure their safety. Am I right? So what's interesting is we start looking at delaying gratification, redirecting gratification. That's a difficult thing to do. I think for some it's easy when your children are on the line, but what about a stranger? Delaying gratification is not easy, and this was actually put to the test in the 1960s. In the 1960s, Stanford professor actually wanted to test delayed gratification through something they called the marshmallow experiment. Now I've got a video for you guys. I hope you guys can cue up the audio for me. You guys have the audio for me. Here's a video.
Okay, sit in that chair. All right, here's the deal. Marshmallow for you. You can either wait, and I'll give you another one if you wait, or you can eat it now. When I come back, I'll give you another, so they don't have to. But stay in here and stay in the chair till I come back, okay? All right.
All right, so be honest. Be honest. Would you have been able to wait the 15 minutes for the second marshmallow? It's interesting, if you start studying statistics today, they actually say our attention span is now down to 6 seconds. Super Bowl commercials are going to be 6 seconds long. Delayed gratification is a difficult thing. What I found fascinating about actually the study is they actually went and studied these children long after the marshmallow experiment. And those children that were able to delay gratification for even 15 minutes for promise of a second marshmallow actually had higher SAT scores, lower levels of substance abuse, lower likelihood of obesity, and better responses to stress, among many other things. It's interesting how success stems back to self-control, the ability to practice patience. But here's my question. I want to think about this in another way. What if there was no promise of a second marshmallow? What if the rules had been changed? And the rules stated that if you waited 15 minutes, we'll give you a second marshmallow, but that second marshmallow is actually for you to give to a loved one. If there was no promise of personal gain, would they have still sacrificed? That's the question you need to ask. No one said sacrifice was easy. And so as I start thinking about that and the red key decision, it was delayed gratification. It was ultimate delayed gratification because the purest decisions in life are made on behalf of another. You have to redirect your gratification to others, and when you do so, you're cutting the selfie. So at the end of the cuts in the book, I actually challenge you guys with what I call the hands section. It's really exciting. I can't give you all of it, but I want to give you guys a couple of practical tips that you guys can implement right now. And here's my first challenge to you. I want you to pick 30 days, and I want you to spend 30 days pointing your camera towards others. It's a really easy click on your phone. It just rotates the camera, and now the camera's not on you, the camera's on others. But here's the catch. I don't want you to even be in the photo. I want you to spend your time not asking what you have, but who you have in your life, and tell their story. Elevate those people in your life. Learn to tell other people's story. My second challenge is to check your motives before you post something. Will your followers be envious or will they be inspired? Hard question to ask, but I want to inspire people. I don't want people to be envious of my life. Challenges about cutting the selfie. Let's move on to number 2. Cut the DIY. What's it mean, the DIY? The do-it-yourself attitude. You've got to cut the DIY. Is there anything in your life that was ever significant that you did alone? Think about that. I mean, think about this event and how amazing this event is. It wasn't put on by one person. So many people had to come together to be able to make something happen. Nothing significant in life ever happens alone. When we think about that word success, right, these are the people that come to mind. So I want you to transition to now thinking about the word significant. When I put in significant into Google, these were the faces that came up. Abraham Lincoln, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King Jr., and Mother Teresa. Just one word shift, this was significant. So I want you to think for a moment to yourself, who are 2 people that actually inspire you to be successful? Successful. Who would those 2 people be? I bet you they come to your mind really quickly. Now I want you to think, who are 2 people that inspire you to live a significant life? I'm not talking about celebrities or icons. Who are 2 people right now that you know personally that inspire you to live a significant life? Do you understand the difference? My list for successful people is long. I know a lot of people with big bank accounts and trophies and Super Bowls, and I know those types of people, but when I start to think about the people that inspire me to be significant, the list gets much smaller. And I want to highlight 2 of them today. Dr. Steve Hirschcheck is one of them. He's the individual that introduced me to network marketing. Board-certified anesthesiologist, homeschools 4 kids, runs a real estate business, and was very successful in network marketing. He accomplished his dream of creating residual income. He decided to move his 4 kids and his wife to Honduras for an entire year to serve in the medical missions field for free. He saw that he could go and make an impact there. So he created this amazing wealth. He created this amazing residual income, but he did so that he could make other people's lives better. I think of Mike and Deb Gilbert. They started One City Ministries in Uganda. Their son died when he was 18. They liquidated their home. They sold everything that they had. They moved to Uganda. They've been there for 10 years. They created a village, a self-sustaining village, so that people of Uganda could thrive. I start thinking about these people that I know, and they inspire me to live a significant life. But at the top of my list is my grandfather. My grandfather's name is Harry Kahn, and I want to show you guys a picture of my grandfather. When I was 17 years old, he passed away. I only had a chance to know him for 17 years. He was a double PhD, engineering and economics. He was the president and CEO of a large engineering company in Rockford, Illinois. When he passed away, this was back in about 2002, over 1,000 people, much like this, came to his funeral. People flew in from all over the world, former employees, they all came to his funeral to show respect. We had 2 microphones actually set up at the front of the room. And we gave people the opportunity to come up and speak. And I'll never forget one woman, she came up to the front and she said, most of you don't know who I am, but Harry paid for my son to go to college. We all looked at each other like, who the heck is that? We've never seen this woman before. Moments later, another woman came up and she said, listen, I didn't have the money to pay for my daughter to have a prom dress, so Harry paid for it. Person after person after person started coming up and talking about the significant impact that my grandfather had made in their life. My question to you is, when your time comes, what are people going to say about you at your funeral? Are you going to have those microphones set up and people are going to come and talk about that impact? If you're really gravitating towards what I'm saying here today, I want you to aim for significance. But here's what the world says. No, 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 no. Aim for success. And once you become successful, then you give your money. Then you give your time. Down the road is when I'll become significant. I want you to aim for significance. You can become successful without being significant, but you cannot become significant without being successful. And why is that? Because significance is determined by others. Other people decide if you're significant based on the value that you add to their life. You see, others were the deciders of my grandfather's significance. You can't find significance. Significance finds you. But you've got to choose intentionally to pursue significance in your life. I want to share a story of somebody that did this, and I wanted to tell it accurately, so I'm going to read this. How many of you have heard of Diana Nyad? Quite a few of you. For those of you that haven't, I just want to read this to you. She's a long-distance swimmer who attempted to swim from Cuba to Florida 4 different times over the course of 35 years, except for her first attempt in 1978. She embarked on the 110-mile swim in unprotected, without a shark tank, which had never been done before. Her attempts were marked by gut-wrenching setbacks, currents and winds that pushed her miles off course, paralyzing jellyfish and Portuguese man-of-war stings, dehydration, respiratory distress, lightning storms, hour-long asthma attacks, hypothermia. Her team forced her to end her swims prematurely, and each time it was like a punch in the gut. Each time the dream was crushed. Her expedition team was made up of over 30 people, navigators, managers, boat crew, weather routers, medical staff, shark experts brimming with innovation and knowledge of scientific discovery. But arguably the most important member of her team was her best friend and head handler, Bonnie. After 4 previous attempts, everybody, scientists, sports scientists, endurance experts, neurologists, even her own team said it was impossible. It just simply couldn't be done. But Bonnie looked at Diana and said, if you're going to take the journey, I'm going to see you through to the end of it. We'll find a way. And the day came, 5th attempt. Bonnie grabbed her by the shoulders and said, let's find our way to Florida. The team had a cardinal rule that if Diana was never to know how far she was or how far she had left to go. On the 3rd morning, seeing that she was suffering and hanging on by a thread, Bonnie said, come here, come here. She waved Diana over to the boat. She said, look out there. She pointed to a light. Diana saw a stream of white light coming across the horizon and said, it's going to be morning soon. Bonnie said, no, those are the lights of Key West. Game on. 15 hours later, in August of 2013, on her 5th bid at the age of 64, Diana Nyad became the first person to successfully complete the swim from Cuba to Florida, a trip of 113 miles swam in 53 hours. You see, every Diana needs a Bonnie. Bonnie, I would say this, belief in ourselves gets us going. But it's others' belief in us that helps us reach the peak of our potential. And as you think about that story, you can't choose to be a Diana. You can't choose to have other people believe in you, but you can choose to be Bonnie, and you can choose to believe in others. You can decide that for yourself. And so my challenge to you is this. Where are you struggling with self-doubt? Diana struggled with doubt in some ways. Where are you struggling with self-doubt? Have the courage to identify, have the humility to ask yourself, where am I struggling? And then I want you to think, who could you ask to come alongside of you? And here's a statement you might want to consider using. To have your belief in me would really take me to the next level. It takes confidence and it takes humility to recognize these areas of your life, and then confidence to ask for it. But I know you don't want to inconvenience people. I'm telling you, life is done better with others. My second challenge to you is who in your life could use an injection of your belief? Who can you lend your belief to so that they can accomplish more in their life? Let's move to number 3. Cut the glory. Cut the glory. Who's on your pedestal? I know we've got some reds in the room. This is challenging for you, it's challenging for me. We like to be in the spotlight, do we not? How many of you have heard of Hell Week? Navy SEALs, right? What's interesting about the Navy SEALs during Hell Week is it's a program where you have literally hundreds of people that start the program, but only dozens graduate. And you graduate as an individual, but it's a team-based program. The first thing that they do when you get into the program is they put you into a team. Nothing in SEAL training can be accomplished apart from your team. Everything is team-based training. So part of the weeding out process is to identify those that see themselves as individuals and those that see themselves as a part of a team. If you talk to Navy SEALs today, they never talk about themselves as SEALs. They talk about which team they're a part of. I'm SEAL Team 6. I'm SEAL Team Delta. They always identify themselves based on the team that they're a part of. It's a different way to think. When I think about college sports, some of you guys played athletics. I played college football. My coach was genius at drafting and creating a culture of togetherness. We had 100 guys on the team, and it's really easy to think that the starters are the most important, but I don't care if you were third string, second string, or first string. All parts were important. The number 1 player and the number 99 player were equally important to the team. Our motto was no regrets. And I remember my mindset started to shift as I started to mature, and I started to realize it's not about Jordan Kemper scoring touchdowns or posting pictures or printing things or cutting out stupid newspaper articles. It's about the team winning. And so now my attitude shifted. Whether I was watching film or running sprints or lifting weights, it was about what can I do to make myself better so that the team wins. You must define your victory by the success of others. When I think about network marketing, I realized that for my long 11-year career, there was a stint of many years where it was the Jordan Kemper show. It was about me hitting my rank. It was about me winning the trips. For you, it might be getting to Diamond or Royal Crown Diamond, and you're going to do whatever it takes to get there. I promise you, if your goal is to get to Royal Crown Diamond and you'll do whatever it takes to get, you'll compromise in the process. So during the process of actually writing this book, I had all these trophies and things that were set up. I decided to just take them all and I tossed them in the trash. I'm not asking you to throw your trophies away, but for me, it was an indication that these trophies don't define me. I'm not doing this for the trophies, I'm doing this for the lives that will be impacted. And as you start thinking about that, it can never be about the ranks, it can never be about the titles. People will smell that out, but here's what's interesting. If you do the right thing because it's the right thing and not so you can get a reward, the money follows. People see the value. People see that you're trying to do it for them, expecting nothing in return. I struggled with that a little bit to understand that and the concept of success and success being an okay thing and making money, and I was wrestling through that, and my mentor, he said to me, he said, I need you to see certificates. I need you to see dollar bills. He said, see dollar bills as a certificate of helping another human being. That's how I started to see dollar bills. Every dollar bill was a certificate of helping another person. So I ask you, how many certificates have you earned? When I meet an individual with a lot of certificates, I start to think about the impact that they've made. I want to earn more certificates. That's what I'm interested in. It's not about the money, it's about the certificates. So my challenges to you are this. Who are you helping that you'll never get any credit for? Are some of you only helping people that are in your team? You reap the benefits of that? Are you helping people so that you can post it on Instagram and people will think highly of you? Who are you helping that you'll never get the credit for? My second challenge. What are 3 goals of yours that cannot be achieved without giving others the glory? Think about that. Start to focus, and you can see that you're starting to track with me. You're starting to think differently. Let's move to number 4, cut the preaching. What do I mean by cut the preaching? Ask yourself this question. What if what you sent meant nothing? How many of you have heard the saying, do as I say, not as I do? If you're using that on your children, shame on you. But pretend and experiment for a moment where you couldn't speak, and the only way in which you could lead others was by your actions. The only way in which people could follow you was based on what you did, because you couldn't talk. Would people still be following you? It's a different way to think, it's a different way to live. And I start thinking about this. One of my struggles early on, especially in the beginning of my career, it was like when it came to doing, I didn't know what to do sometimes. I felt like this child kind of separated in 4 states. I wanted to be a professional football player. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be a personal trainer. I wanted to be good at network marketing. And before I knew it, I was pursuing like 7 things. But I refused to actually plant my pole in the ground. I didn't want to actually put my pole in the ground because it was FOMO. It was fear of missing out on something else. What if I make that NFL contract? What if that big call comes in? I don't want to miss out. How many of you felt that way at some point? You don't want to make the wrong choice. I started to think back to my grandfather's funeral when I was 17. What would Grandpa do? Grandpa would figure out how to help the most people, and that's what he would commit himself to. So I called the football team I was playing for. I canceled my contract. I called the casting agent. I said, no more auditions. And I decided to plant my flag in the ground, and I decided I was going to pursue my network marketing career. And I'm arguing for you that sometimes it takes adjusting. What do I mean by adjusting? Well, think about it. When you wake up in the morning and you focus on something, right? If you just focused on that one thing, and then as you went throughout the day, your eyes never were able to readjust. You would be out of focus for the entire day, but your eyes are constantly in a perpetual way of readjusting so that you can have clarity and focus. And I'm saying sometimes life causes us to need to readjust, to refocus. And I think the best example of this was a man named Pat Tillman. If you don't know Pat Tillman's story, he was drafted by the Arizona Cardinals out of Arizona State University in 1998. He ended up actually turning down a $9 million contract, a 5-year deal with the Rams because of his loyalty to the Cardinals. Did you know that? That's crazy to me. And then fast forward after 9/11, he turned down a $3.6 million contract with the Arizona Cardinals to enlist in the U.S. Army. When he enlisted in the U.S. Army, he didn't just enlist, he went to Ranger School. He was deployed to Afghanistan, and in April of 2004, he was killed in combat at age 27. When I think about this man, I start thinking about myself. This guy played at the highest level of professional football, the tens of thousands of hours put into excelling at football. And then he could have kept doing that, but he decided to refocus his expertise and not just get into the Army, but be the best at it and gave his life for it. We have got to be willing to refocus our expertise, because ask yourself, perhaps, maybe having an expertise, the best part of having an expertise is because of the lives that will be improved because you have that expertise. Be willing to refocus that expertise. So my challenges are this. Instead of telling others what to do, start showing them by your actions. Decide you're going to show, not talk. Lead. And then when it comes to knowing your people better, my second challenge, ask people questions that require more than a yes or no answer. John Maxwell says great leaders ask great questions, but it's not just enough to ask great questions. You have to listen with a different set of ears. Listen as if you had to memorize what the person was saying and give it back to them. Don't listen with a set of ears so that you can craft a response. Here's a couple of questions that you might want to consider. What's the most important issue you're dealing with right now? What roadblocks are holding you back? What can I do to make you more effective? Not yes or no questions. These are generating responses to where you have to connect with another human being. And my last cut is cut the now. Cut the now. A question that I love to ask is, will it matter in 5 years? We start thinking about life choices, right? My goodness, before a day goes by, between answering emails, taking care of the kids, doing the dishes, planning date night, before you know it, our day just goes right by, doesn't it? You've got to ask yourself, am I leading an intentional life such that the choices I'm making today are going to make for a better tomorrow? John Maxwell says that anything worthwhile in life is uphill. You think about uphill. Can you go uphill accidentally? Can you cruise on a bike uphill? No, you got to pedal really hard to go uphill. So we have these uphill dreams in life, but we have these downhill habits. You've got to make intentional choices And it's the summation of those choices that will ultimately determine the legacy that you leave. And I know that this is a morbid picture, but this day is coming. And all of the choices that you make from here to then is what ultimately determines the legacy that you leave behind. And I'm a metrics guy. You know, you can measure how much money you make, you measure how your body's fat, you can measure certain things, but I started to think about, can you measure legacy? The ripple effect of legacy, can you measure it? And my answer is the best way in which to measure your legacy, I believe, is the people that are in these seats. When your funeral comes, what will others say about you? Did you cut the selfie? Did you cut the glory? Did you cut the preaching? Did you put others first? Did you shift your focus towards the impact you could make in their life? Are they going to have an auditorium or a small chapel? Are people not going to show up because it's raining? These are the life choices that are going to ultimately decide. And so my challenge to cut the now is this. I want you to think just for a moment, when was the last time you were generous without giving money? When was the last time you were generous? If you have a hard time thinking about that, something you need to consider. Those are people that are going to be at that funeral. And I want you to take a moment right now. This is really important to me. I want you to list 3 personal values or traits that you hope are said about you during your eulogy. Right now. What are 3 values or traits that you hope are said about you at your eulogy? Start thinking differently. And as I think about the red key, it was an 18-year commitment. It was a sacrifice. It was a choice that was made on the behalf of somebody I hadn't met yet. And I saw Kristen's face, and I saw the joy, and I really believe that that was my purest pursuit. No personal award, no personal achievement could ever match the joy that I saw in her face. My commitment, my sacrifice was for her benefit. She was the benefactor of that decision. And I want to leave you guys with this slide. The 3 most important decisions you're going to make in life. Number 1 is, who's your master? My master is Jesus Christ. I believe with all of my heart that there's no mistake that that key was red. I think that key was red because it represents sacrifice, which represents blood. And as I think about the sacrifice that Jesus made for all of us, there's no mistake that that key was red. He was the ultimate sacrifice. It says in John 15:13, no greater love than this, than he that laid down his life for his friend. I didn't lay down my life. That was the ultimate example of sacrifice to each of us, a gift that none of us deserved. I chose to follow Jesus, which led me to the second question, is what's my mission? My purpose. I'm telling you right now, your mission is to live a life that matters. To live a life of meaning, of significance. And the only thing that determines your significance is other people. The impact that you made in others' lives. They decide that. And number 3 is, who's my mate? Who are you going to share life with? Some of you single people in the room, don't compromise. Don't compromise. This is the 3rd most important decision you're going to make in your life. Those of you that are married, this is a lifelong decision. I believe with all of my heart that God created Adam, and from Adam he created Eve from his rib. I believe that God designed us 1 man and 1 woman. 1 man and 1 woman. And I promise, that being the 3rd choice, value that decision. Protect that decision. God wants that life together. And my hope is that we can stay connected, that I can encourage you guys as you pursue significance. What I did was I want you guys to have this presentation. I want you guys to have this slide deck. So if you guys go to jordankemper.com/ignite, you're going to get a couple of things. 1, you guys will get this presentation. You can have it. Okay? Secondly, the book's not coming out till this summer, but I want to keep you guys up to date. We're going to be creating videos for each chapter. There's going to be a lot of free resources. I'd love to keep you guys up to speed. Really excited about what this book's going to do in the movement that we're going to create. So you guys can go to jordankemper.com/ignite. I'll tell you right now, we created Red Key Revolution, but because I haven't been telling people the name of the book, we haven't been promoting the IG account. But I'd love for you guys to go and follow that account. What we're going to do with that account is we're going to actually give people the opportunity. We want to share their stories. We want to highlight ministries and individuals that are making a significant impact. And lastly, you guys can stay connected with me on Facebook and Instagram. I'll leave you with this thought. I'm so proud of you guys for being here. I'm so proud of you guys for coming. I just want and hope, and my desire is that you see Young Living as a tool to make other people's lives better. You have red key choices to make every day. The most significant choices you're going to make are on behalf of other people you haven't met yet. I love you guys. Thank you for the honor of being here today. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Jordan.